Hey guys, this is Timothy with the Obra Woodco, and today I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways to prep a pin blank for wood turning. So, way number 1, I'm going to be using this birch blank. It's a pretty light wood, but there's nothing really special about it, no spalting. And I am going to be prepping this one with just a Ryobi hand drill. It's a great drill, it's lasted me quite some time, and yeah, that's it. So I'm just using the drill bit from this Slim Style pin kit because it just fits with all the generic slimline pins. So it's just a 7mm drill bit. And for this, I'm just going to be, drilling the hole. So step 1, I'm just going to grab a pin blank kit and I'm going to lay out the casings on top. So for this, it just helps me spatialize it so I can get the right amount of space for each pin. I'll probably chop off a teeny bit at the end. Let's see. So, right about there. For this one, right about there. You want to draw a little line in the middle just to mark your grain, which is super important because when you're done, you want the grain to be smooth looking all the way across. You wouldn't want there to be a line here and then a break and it be perfectly smooth. The two halves would not fit together and it just wouldn't look good. Okay, so now let me think. I think I'm going to drill it when it's together and then cut it apart. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So, now to drill it, I guess. Yeah, that's where I found center. It's not perfect, but it should be really close for this purpose. So as I spin it on the drill, you can see it's not perfectly center, but I think it should be really close for the purpose of making this pin. This is a good reason to do them not by hand, but if all you have is a hand drill, this shows that it can be done. So now I'm going to grab a clamp and just clamp it to the workbench. That should be tight enough. I'm just going to cut it with a Ryobi circular saw. The reason I have all Ryobi is it fits the same battery. So we have like 3 or 4 batteries and they fit all of the tools. Be super careful to cut along the line. And as you can see, while my entry was perfect, my hole got kind of off. The curve of the pin for the shape that I make them, that will be fine. But I think I might have to drill this one just a teeny bit differently. I'm going to put it in that hole and just aim more for the center. Sweet, this should do. So the next step will be to just dry fit it. Always dry fit your tubes because you can easily drill your hole raw. You just want to push your tubes through, make sure they fit. This will also make sure it doesn't have a ton of sawdust for when you glue them in. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab some medium CA glue. This still has its sticker. It just says it's the Rockler Cyanoacrylite Quick Adhesive. It's a 4.5 ounce bottle. So, take that lid off. I'm going to use an activator because activators speed things up. And in general, I'm an impatient person. So now I'm just going to... normally I put glue around the inside first and I spin it a bit. You want that nice and loaded. That's plenty of glue. Let it drip down some, then stop it. So I'm filling this with the glue because you want a ton. You don't want to not have enough. Now, I've heard that you don't need to scratch up your casings, but I don't know. Out of habit, I always do, and it hasn't hurt me. It hasn't come back to bite me, so I've decided that since it doesn't really hurt, there's no reason not to truly scratch up your pieces. So there's one scratched up, and then just coat it in the glue, and twist it as you push it in, and there you go. That is centered a little bit. There. There we go. Cool. It does not dry super fast on the wood, but on your fingers, it dries crazy fast, so be careful. That's just some activator on the ends. And even though the activator does, like dry it immediately is not enough where you can go immediately turn this. I've done that before, and it's going to come back to bite you if you do. So I did not scratch this one up. And scratching doesn't have to be like the most thorough job. You just need to get enough surface where the CA has something to grab to on there. That should be good. You saw that. That was not barely any. Pick off that little CA that was dried. And glue, glue, glue. Sometimes the end that the drill bit enters, actually always, that'll be the easier end to push it in. The other end will be harder. Just using the cap to push it in deeper. And I'm happy with that. I'm not going to spray it. And I sprayed my finger. As you can see, that's a ton of CA glue on my hands, which is inconvenient, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, so until that dries, yeah, that piece is done. Now I am going to prep the sycamore. That's my next wood. I'm going to prep that on the lathe. Hey guys, so my camera went off and I forgot to turn it back on for this piece. So I am using a sycamore blank and I have already drawn my lines with the casings. Now it is just time for me to cut that. So I'm just gonna grab the same handsaw and yeah, cut those off. So, For that one, I have enough room where I was comfortable using my fingers. They were far enough away. But in general, don't use your fingers. It's super easy to lose a digit, and you've only got 10 of them. You can't really get them back once you cut it off. And double check these against my casings. Kind of a little close on one of these, but it should be okay. Okay. So now I just chucked one up in the lathe right there. That chuck attachment is made for holding pen blanks. As you can see, it's a nice and tight fit. I'll be turning this pretty fast. This is the drill chuck I'll be using. I think it's called a Jacob's chuck. Make sure this is nice and tight. Yep, nice and tight. Cool. I'm gonna drill this pretty fast. I think what I just did was pretty stupid, but it was like 4 times faster, and I'm curious to see how that'll turn out. So for that, I simply held the tailstock in my hands and pushed it forward and backwards. Yeah, if you compare it, those holes are almost the exact same perfect. Slide the casing through. Fits nicely. Now for this one. Yep. Casing got hidden in the middle, as you can see. Sometimes it's hard to get them out, so you just shake it with your hand, and it should pop out. I was expecting it to come out the bottom. Coming out the top is kind of funny, though. Okay, so now I'm going to prep these ones. Where did that sandpaper go? See, guys, I can't keep track of my things. I'm constantly losing them. Okay, let me reposition that camera again. So, scratched it up. Again, it doesn't have to be super rough, just enough where you feel confident that the CA will be able to kind of have something to grab on. I don't do all up and down. I mostly do side-to-side scratches because I'm afraid it's going to pull this way, not spin this way so much. But, you know, never hurts to have a little bit of everything. Okay, so now for the CA glue. Tip, try to keep your lid in your bottle as clean as you can, because if CA is in the lid and you stick it together, it can be an absolute pain to take those two pieces apart. I have to struggle with that almost every time I take the bottle apart, because the first few times I used it, I didn't know that. So I had let it do that, and that just was not pleasant for me. Okay, so now on the bottle. And pushed in. I'm going to try to keep it off of my fingers this time. Sweet, I think that's good. I'm going to hit that with the activator. I probably used more activator than was needed, but I don't know. More often than not, I tend to lean towards more than less. With glue and all that, you'd rather have a super tight bond and have to clean off some glue than have a kind of wussy bond that you have to re-glue and re-drill because you didn't do it right. Okay, push that in. I can go a little in. Perfect. Sweet. Now I have one more blank completely prepped. All I'm going to have to do is, well, not completely prepped, but almost done. And stick this lid back on. Pick off that. This is normally a bad idea, but sometimes I get a ton of CA on my fingers and it doesn't clean off, so you just use the activator so it dries instantly and you can just pick it off. Similar to like if you get Elmer's glue on your fingers. Now for the last and my personal favorite way of prepping a blank. I didn't start with this one because you need a drill press for it. But if you have a drill press, it makes it exponentially easier. Much faster and all that. Okay, so see, open this bag. Accidentally ripped the Ziploc-ish portion of that, so I just ended up ripping the bag open. Oh, this wood is just a board from on top of a pallet. I liked it, and it smelled good. It's not like oak or pine or anything. Tell me in the comments if you know what it is. I have no idea, and I really like how it smells, so I would be willing to go, like, buy some, but it's great wood. It's, yeah, very different than stuff I'm used to. We have some old barn wood that I think is walnut that smells similar, but I don't think that someone would make a walnut pallet. That seems kind of like a waste of walnut wood, so I'm guessing it's not that. But anyway, similar, prepping the blank, and clamp it. Okay, so here are the two pieces. It's super clean grain, super pretty once it's cut smooth. This is the jagged end that I just cleaned off the pallet with a Sawzall, but I love how pretty that is. I bet that's gonna clean up beautifully with a walnut oil. Okay, now I'm gonna reposition the camera. Okay, that should be good on the drill press. Okay, so for this, we have this little jig we made, my dad and I. It right here, it just helps clamp the piece in place. It's just two random pieces of wood with a little hinge out one side, and we just use two different clamps. One to hold it down to the base of the drill press, and then one to clamp the actual item together. And let's see. And actually the pin from the clamp fell out. It broke. So it just has, sorry, not the clamp, the hinge. So it just has a nail stuck in there, and it's super sufficient. So it shows that, I don't know, DIY workshop works well. Clamp it up tight. Adjust the drill press. That's about centered. I don't think that went all the way through. That did. Through. Okay, yeah, the drill press is nice because, as you can see, that's a super clean hole. You can see right through it. Yeah. Now, moving the camera again. Sorry for all this camera moving. This is a piece of that walnut, I think it's walnut, barnwood, and I don't know if you can see now that I got it, but it looks super similar. This one has a little more purple, but leave your comments below. Do you think they're the same woods, or do you think it's a different wood? Yeah. Okay, so the blanks have dried, and now here is how you finish it. So the last step before these are ready for turning is to use this barrel trimmer tool. It makes sure the barrel is clean from CA glue, that none is on the inside, and it makes sure that the outside wood is level with that. This one, let me double check the straw. Yep, you can see that big old chunk of CA it picked up from the inside. That's what we're trying to clean off. That's a lot of CA right here. So, anyway. So, the way to do this is either in your hand, which can be hard to try to trim that because these are not super sharp. It's just kind of a blunt pressure thing, or in a clamp or vise. So, I will show you two different ways. As you can see, with a lot of pressure, I'm not cutting it very much, and that makes this a pain. So my preferred way is in a vise. So let me just swing y'all around. That hair there is my handy dandy vise. Just gonna clamp it. It doesn't matter if the vise scars the outside of the wood, because this outer layer is gonna be completely turned away just to round it. technically this is the one I already started on, but it doesn't make a difference. I gotta do both anyway. There we go. That is mostly clean. Now I'm just gonna flip it around. This side I'm gonna have to cut in pretty deep. Oh, come on. I dropped something. It's just annoying. It's not terrible. This didn't have anything important in it. But, there we go. It just had all these little attachments for the front of our cabinet. We keep all those in it. I can get the rest later. So this has now been trimmed. As you can see, it's nice and clean. The metal is flush. And yeah. So now for this one, this is the one that it wasn't quite so centered. So this one I'll have to be a little bit more careful with. Nice over. There we go. I'm not going to show y'all how to do that exact same thing on the lathe or on the drill press, because if you've seen it one way, you just do it the exact same. You drill out the thing. You just use the other machine or motor. So, yeah, there we go.